Good afternoon folks, and welcome back to another episode of Adam's Eats. Now boy, has it been a long time since I've done a recipe video. The last one was the tuna mayonnaise sandwich filling 2 weeks ago. Now some of you already know the reason why, but for the benefit of those who don't, I've had some problems. Boy, have I had some problems. Basically what happened is my boiler broke down, and to top it off there was a problem with my gas supply as well. So for quite some time I was without hot water, without heating, and also gas as well. So I couldn't cook anything and I was freezing as well. And I've lived off nothing but takeaways and anything that I can just sort of shove in my gob really. So sorry about that folks, but such is my life. Such is my life. But anyway, that's enough of my problems. We've got the gas back and I'm gonna make a nice little recipe, and that's my chorizo and red pepper risotto. Now I've done a couple of risotto recipes before, but this one's nice and smoky. It's gonna use chorizo sausage, and we're gonna put some roasted red pepper in there as well. It's going to be really nice, really simple, hearty, and a great family meal. So of course, as always, let's crack on with it. If you look down below in the description, you can get a list of those ingredients. And also if you press that pause button now, you can get a list of them there as well. And the first job we need to do is go and roast a pepper. Right, okay, roasting a red pepper then. Really, really simple to do. Now if you haven't got a gas hob, you can always do it in the oven. Just put the pepper in whole and just roast it that way. You don't quite get the same charred effect, but it will do the job. Now I do suggest you learn how to do it yourself, because it's much, much cheaper than buying the stuff in a jar, because as with anything that's got an extra layer of processing, as in, you know, they've taken the pepper, they've roasted it, they've chopped it, they've put it in olive oil. You know, there's more labour to it, so obviously the final product is going to cost more, whereas, you know, this was 57p. We can do it ourselves in a couple of minutes, and Bob's your uncle. And literally all you need to do is just turn on your gas ring, use kind of one of the bigger ones, and then just plonk the thing on top. And all you're looking to do is to char the outside of the pepper completely black. So just watch it, you know, turn it every couple of minutes, make sure all the sides are nice and charred, and then I'll show you the next step. Right, okay, so it's been a couple of minutes now. I've turned it every now and again. You can see how lovely and charred that is all around the pepper. I know it looks a bit of a mess, but don't worry, it's going to turn out just fine. And then all I'm going to do is, I've got a bowl here just off camera, I'm going to pop it in, and I'm going to pop that to one side so it cools down, because you don't want to kind of peel it whilst it's roasting hot. And whilst that's cooling down, we'll get on and do a bit of chopping. Right, so let's get on with some chopping. I'm going to use one of these onions, and I want a fine dice on this because it's going to kind of evaporate through the dish. Same as you've seen me do a million times before. Just peel it. And then obviously with the two halves, I'm just going to chop them into a nice fine dice. Oh God, I think I need to sharpen my knives again. I'm just going to waz that onto a plate for now. Next, our chorizo. Got some left from a recipe I did the other day. Now I'm going to use probably most of this, but you want about 150 grams-ish. Depends how much you like chorizo. I'm just going to take it off at the top, and just to make life easier, I'm going to take that end piece off. And I also advise taking the skin off if you can. It's not always easy, but it can be a bit chewy and not very nice to eat. It doesn't matter if you leave a little bit on, but it's always good to try and get most of it off. And once you remove the skin, all I'm going to do is just slice it into small discs. And the great thing about chorizo is it's got so much flavour in it already. So when it comes to making that actual risotto, you really don't need to add a lot of stuff. Okay, that's enough, so I'm going to get that onto the plate as well. And once you've sliced up the chorizo and the onion, we can now get on and make the risotto. Right, so what we need to do now to start the risotto is to get this pan onto a nice low heat. Then I'm going to add a touch of olive oil, and also a small knob of butter, just to add a nice flavour. Then we're going to add the onion, just get that in like so. And we want to sweat these down for about 5 minutes till they go nice and translucent, and then we'll add the chorizo. So after a few minutes, once the onion is nice and soft, we're going to go in with our chorizo. Now because this is already cured, it doesn't need cooking, but what we want to do is extract all that oil and that flavour from the chorizo. So again, just cook that out for a minute or two until those oils start to leak out, and then I'll show you the next step. Right, so after a couple of minutes you can see all that orange coloured oil has come out of that chorizo. That's what you want. We're now going to add the rice, and keeping it on a low heat, we're just going to mix all of that through, and you can immediately see how it turns that lovely orange colour. Now I'm going to turn the heat up just a touch, and now I'm going to add some wine. Now you want to cook that fairly high for about 1 or 2 minutes. Now whilst the wine is reducing, we'll get on and finish off this roasted pepper. It's nice and cool now, so what we need to do is just to peel off as much of that charred sort of black gunk as possible. You know, just stick it in a bowl. It doesn't matter if you leave a little bit on. Don't be tempted to wash it because you'll remove most of the flavour. So just peel it off with your hands. And then all we're going to do is just take off the end, cut it in half, remove that inner core with all those seeds. And basically there you have your very own roasted pepper. And I'm going to cut these into thin strips, ready to go in the risotto at the end. Just stick them on a plate for now. By the time you've done that, your wine should be reduced. Right, okay, so once your wine is reduced, we can now start adding the stock. Now I've said this before, but the difference between a good risotto and a great one is spending that time with it. Don't be tempted to leave it alone, walk away and let it do its thing, because you're just not going to get that same creaminess. You've got to keep stirring and agitating that rice, because that's going to release the starch and give you that creamy texture. So now we can start adding the stock a little bit at a time, just like that, and then keeping it on a medium heat. Just keep stirring the risotto. Now obviously it depends on how much risotto you're making as to how much liquid you need, but I've got about 500 ml here, which should be enough. If it's not, you can always add a little bit of water or just make up a bit more stock. So continue in that agitation, and after a while you'll start to see the starch come out of the rice and it will start to go creamy. And now you can see that first bit of stock is absorbed, so we can now add a bit more. Take your time with it, be patient, and that's really it. You just want to keep going, using that method. Stirry, stirry, stirry. So I'm going to keep adding the stock a bit at a time until the risotto is almost done, and then I'll show you the last step. Right, okay, so I've been stirring this for about 30 minutes now. It's not far off. The rice is just a little bit undercooked. So at this stage I'm going to add my roasted pepper. Just start stirring that through. Then I'm going to add a bit more stock. And again, I'm just going to continue that process until the rice is cooked through. Right, so I've cooked that out again for another further 5 minutes. And then to finish it off, all we're going to do is add a nice generous knob of butter. Get that in. Then some black pepper. It doesn't need any salt because there's salt in that butter and the stock as well, but obviously taste it for salt if you need it. Then I'm going to add a sprinkling of Parmesan cheese. And that's it, that's a risotto done. You can see how lovely and creamy that is. The rice is cooked through. So let's dish it up and have a taste. Right, okay, so I've got a plate here. Let's dish some of this up. I'm not going to have loads because I'm not super hungry. Now, as I've said before, the litmus test for a good risotto is if you take your plate, give it a shake and it collapses, you know you're golden. If you can make a big pile of it and stack it high, a risotto it is not. So then I'm going to finish this off with a bit more Parmesan, and it's done. Simple as that. Let's get it in my face. Right then folks, here it is, the finished risotto. Let's give it a whirl. Get a bit of everything on there, some of that chorizo, some roasted pepper. Here we go. That is so creamy, really savoury. You get a really nice barbecue smoky flavour from those roasted peppers, and that rich, dense, garlicky, spicy flavour from that chorizo. Parmesan adds a nice salty kick. Now what you could do to cut through some of that richness is grate some lemon zest on the top. That will kind of balance it out, but I like it as it is. It's a winner. Give it a try. Really easy family meal. It's cheap as chips and it tastes wizard. Well guys, I hope you like the recipe. Again, really simple to make, but what we have used is packed full of flavour, so you can maximise the return on your meal. Now this will feed 2 people, no problem, may even stretch to 3, even 4, depends how much of a pig you are. But give it a go folks, it's really good. Well folks, that about wraps up today's video. If you like the recipe, then please leave a like down below, share it across your social media platforms, and if you'd like to show me some love and support, then please subscribe, and also stick around at the end because there'll be some links to some other videos, and if you're not a subscriber, there'll be a button for that as well. And I'll see your lovely faces next time for more tasty fun and frolics, and bye for now.